I think things have changed within the last couple of months, and not for the better.
Right.
And see, here's the thing. You know, people say, well, why don't you talk more about Jesus? I've spent 25 years on talk radio, and I don't believe that anyone has talked more about Jesus than I am, who's not a preacher, okay, or Pastor Langford. David started listening to me, I think, on my first or second, Pastor David Langford. David, my friend, but we all know him as Pastor David Langford, started listening to me, I think, on either the first or second show I ever did on talk radio. And we became friends. And then Doug and I came across each other when, again, I don't think many people realize, Doug, you and I became friends. We did a HQ Intel alert. That's in the days of newsletter. And then, obviously, with the coming of the Internet, that stuff was too passé. I mean, it was the minute you wrote it, you know, there's another month's worth of stuff the very next day you need to write out for the next month. So you couldn't keep up with it. And now people are so, how should I say this, trained to need instantaneous data that, you know, we all click on. I know I go on different websites, and I want my information as up to the date. For instance, on Kilauea, you know, on the big island of Hawaii, I have friends there. I'll tell you what, the Hawaiians are some of the most beautiful people in the world. And their spirits, and look, I understand all the paganism on the islands. I understand the thing that held that in check was Christianity. I understand probably the cannibalism and the entire dispersion of the giants throughout the South Pacific as well as anybody on the planet at this time, because that's where God has led me. But when it's all said and done, we are now in the place where the old ways won't work. And I'm talking about biblical ways. I'm talking about, well, someone will come and rescue us. You know, we used to have a song, Rescue the Perishing, and that's our job on a daily basis. But you know, Doug, the mind control, and this is what I'm going to ask everybody to start praying about. Praying that God will absolutely bring down the mind control apparatus, because you see it on your television, you see it, actually you don't see it, but you sense it and experience it through Wi-Fi, you experience it through just about everything, whether it's radio, whether any electronic waveforms can alter your brain very substantially, especially in the realms of what I would call black physics. Black physics simply means the area of science and understanding that has been possessed through, literally, if you will, tens of given by the fallen angels. So, you know, we're at a point now, and I apologize for somebody trying to call in, and I can't cut them out. But the point that I'm trying to make is this, is that we're in a different time zone now, and we're at the point of contact. Contact is this: when that which was in the spiritual world that you could acknowledge but not have to deal with, okay, that point is no longer prescient. The one now is contact. I guess you call it like the difference between tag football and full contact football, and we're in the full contact. Scientists are talking about brain matter, even of a deceased individual being able to see what they saw, even though they're dead. You remember that story?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. That's
now put it together, ladies and gentlemen. If you can describe by proteins to identify people, groups, and tribes, why would you then suspect that the powers that be that are going to spring on the people of this planet, the greatest deception, would want you to know the Genesis 6 narrative, that the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and produced an offspring of giants? And how is it that non-Christian influenced tribes around the world, some so obscure as to defy even language translation after, you know, years and years, but they all come back to the Great Spirit or the gods being angry at the cannibals that were destroying his creation. By the way, most people don't understand it. That is a central theme throughout. My first chapter in, True Legends, I talk about that. So here's the point, Doug. Imagine you've got XYZ's bones, and let's say you find the bones of somebody, well, let's just take Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, the oldest epic in the world. Gilgamesh was half man, half angel. What I'm trying to get at is when you identify the fallen angel DNA, and again, I had to answer the question that I keep trying to explain to people. There are writers out there that I disagree with. They're my brothers in the Lord, but they use the word Nephilim for everything. The word Nephilim is only used twice in the Old Testament. In Genesis chapter 6, there were giants in those days before the flood and after the flood, when the sons of God, and those are not normal people, okay? Those are the angels, came unto the daughters of men, okay? People can say, I don't believe that stuff. The only time that's ever used in the Old Testament, the word Nephilim, is once before the flood and once after. After that, everything else is basically, everything else is Rephaim. So now what I'm trying to tell you is this. By using proteins from bones to identify people, or the giant's DNA, okay, or the fallen angelic heraldry, if you will, it's possible, and I believe it's already been done, to basically take the DNA and at some level, and in the world of physics I do not even understand, okay, I can conceptualize it, but I can't say how they do it, to get the genetic memories of, let's say, fallen angel A's offspring, giant B, and even to the point of being able to, if you find the bones of giant B, a demon is a disembodied spirit of a giant. Nephilim do not cover giants, fallen angels, and demons. They are all three separate things. The words are never used. So, follow with me. If you are going to launch a deception on the people of God, you can use the very thing I'm putting forward right now on your show. People can shake your head, say I'm crazy, but I want to share something. There is no way that this revelation can come through understanding. Doug, I want you to know that. There is no way. Which brings me to tonight. I just want to share some things. In the last week, some of the greatest revelations that have been known for years are coming out. I believe we're so close to, quote, the aliens created us, to the chance, not the chance, but the change in psyche that will attack all the foundations of Christianity coming to pass. I believe that every form of deception. Now, look, people can say, but you've been saying that for 30 years, and for 30 years I was ahead of you, critics, and you didn't pay attention. Now you'll have to pay your dues. That's not a threat. Here's the thing. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, Jesus, Yeshua, for those of you who refer to Jesus as Yeshua. The thing is that he fought him to destroy the works of the evil one. For this purpose was the Son of God manifested, that he might destroy the works of the evil one. I don't believe, Doug, that people understand that this is now. I think you and I did a show, or Pastor and you did a show, maybe a month ago, whenever. But this is the time to stand. This is the time to fight. This is the time to say, this is the time to run towards the enemy, not run from him. And when you get as furious through whatever event you've done, I remember when Renee was your wife was going through her surgery. I remember, when you were fighting things that, people didn't know about. When I'm fighting things that I won't, we don't want anything to take away from the supremacy of the Lord. But people, please hear me out tonight. I am trying by the grace of God to fulfill my calling. And Doug is fulfilling his calling. John Robertson wrote a great article. I put it up. I don't know if you saw it, but I said, you have to watch this. You have to read this. I'm sorry. And the idea is simply this, Doug. In my opinion, nobody understands the nature of the battle that's against them that claims to be quote-unquote evangelical believers, and people that are believing that there still is a constitutional due process are greatly deceived, because the globalists are Luciferians. They have the love of the Father is not in them, and so we have to fight with the wisdom and the direction and the blueprint for God and from God for this battle, because the battle is the Lord's, but it also demands our participation.